It's almost impossible to miss the news about cyber attacks these days, right?
Definitely.
Feels like every week there's something new.
It really does. And today we're zeroing in on one particular group that, well, certainly made waves in 2025.
Anonymous Sudan.
Exactly. Anonymous Sudan. Our sources, the ones you shared, really paint a picture of a group that's been incredibly active, causing some pretty major disruptions.
Major is maybe putting it mildly. I mean, the sources mention claims of over 35,000 attacks since 2023.
Yeah, 35,000. It's a staggering number.
And think about the targets. Hospitals, government services people depend on, big companies. It's broad.
It is. And then there's that whole other angle with the arrests in the U.S. Wasn't it October 2024?
That's right. 2 Sudanese brothers allegedly connected to the group adds a whole new dimension.
It really does. It shows the global reach and, frankly, the very real impact these things have. So our mission here for this deep dive
Yeah, let's define that.
is to really dig into who Anonymous Sudan is, look at what they've actually done, the impact, and try to understand the bigger picture, all based on the information you've given us.
Okay, sounds good. So first question, who is Anonymous Sudan?
Well, on the surface, their name points directly to Sudan.
And they've apparently said they're Sudanese Muslim supporters.
That's their public stance, yes. Seems clear enough at first glance.
But it. Well, I sense a but coming.
Well, yeah. The interesting part, according to some cybersecurity experts cited in our sources, is this suspicion of Russian links.
Ah, so not necessarily just a homegrown group.
Potentially not, or at least maybe receiving support or direction. It definitely muddies the waters regarding their true motives. Who's really behind it?
Right, it's that classic fog of war, but in the digital space. Never quite sure who you're looking at.
Exactly. Things aren't always what they seem online.
And they're not exactly hiding in the shadows completely, are they? The sources mentioned Telegram.
They're active there, which is pretty common, actually. These groups often use platforms like Telegram to, announce things, claim responsibility.
Kind of like their public bulletin board.
Sort of, yeah. It lets them get their message out fast, maybe build a reputation, possibly even recruit. It's part of their operational toolkit.
Speaking of toolkits, the sources listed some. Frankly, scary-sounding tool names.
Oh.
Godzilla.
Yeah, Godzilla, Skynet.
Skynet, like the Terminator?
Yeah, evocative name. And Infra Shutdown.
Okay, infra shutdown sounds particularly blunt.
It really does. We don't have the deep technical specs from these sources, but a name like that strongly suggests tools aimed at taking down critical network infrastructure.
So disrupting essential services.
That seems to be the implication, yes. Hitting things hard.
Well, let's talk about some specific examples, because that's where you really see the real-world harm. Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in L.A.
Right, that one was serious. An 8-hour disruption.
At a major hospital. That's terrifying. Emergency services impacted. People needing urgent care.
Absolutely. It just hammers home the point that this isn't just about computers.
Right.
It affects physical safety, people's health. It's a direct line from digital action to physical consequence.
And it wasn't a one-off, was it?
Yeah.
The sources describe a massive attack on Kenyan government services.
Oh, yeah, that sounded huge. Lasted a whole week, apparently.
A week. Affecting government stuff, banks, even hospitals and telecoms there, too. That's paralyzing for a country.
It really is. It shows the potential scale they could operate at, disrupting that much for that long. It suggests, well, significant coordination, serious resources behind it.
And then there's a different kind of angle trying to extort Microsoft and Riot Games.
Demanding millions in ransom.
So that suggests a financial motive, potentially? Or maybe just an attempt to cause chaos and also get paid?
Could be either or both. Ransomware attacks where they lock up data and demand payment often blur the lines. Is it ideology? Is it profit? Sometimes it's hard to tell.
These groups can have mixed motives, I guess.
Very common.
And the OpenAI attack, the one targeting ChatGPT, that felt a bit more specific.
It did. The source linked it to a political statement from someone at the company.
So less about widespread disruption, more like a targeted retaliation.
Seems like it in that case. It shows how even platforms you might not think of as primary targets can get drawn in based on political issues or perceived slights. Everything's connected.
Which brings us back to the legal side. The arrests in October 2024.
Right, the Omar brothers. Ahmed and Allah Omar, arrested in the U.S.
And the charges are basically running the whole Anonymous Sudan show.
That's the accusation, yes. Being behind those, 35,000 plus attacks we mentioned earlier?
That's a massive operation for allegedly just 2 people to be running point on.
Well, running it doesn't necessarily mean they personally typed every command for every attack. But yes, the charges are serious, accusing them of orchestrating it. It shows law enforcement is actively trying to track these activities down.
And the potential sentences reflect that seriousness. Life imprisonment for Ahmed Omar.
If convicted, yes. And up to 5 years for Ala Omar. It sends a clear message about how seriously authorities are taking cyber attacks, especially those hitting critical infrastructure.
So how do they manage so many attacks? The sources mention their methods, right? DDoS attacks.
Yes. Distributed denial of service. Basically, flooding a target's servers with overwhelming amounts of junk traffic.
Like a massive traffic jam on the internet aimed at one place.
Exactly. And they were apparently using public cloud servers to do it.
Why does that matter? Using the cloud.
It gives them scalability. They can easily rent huge amounts of computing power to launch massive attacks. And it can also help obscure their actual origin point, making them harder to trace.
Makes sense. More firepower, better camouflage.
Pretty much. It's a common tactic for large-scale DDoS campaigns.
And they also played mind games, didn't they? Announcing attacks that didn't always happen.
Yeah, that stood out. Announce an attack, make the target scramble to defend, and then maybe nothing happens.
That must be incredibly disruptive in itself. Causes uncertainty, wastes resources.
Precisely. It's a psychological tactic. Keeps potential victims constantly on edge, forces them to react, even to threats that might be bluffs. It creates pressure.
Looking at the bigger picture then, the financial damage.
Yeah.
Our sources estimate over $10 million just for U.S. organizations.
$10 million. And that's likely just the direct costs we can easily measure.
Right. Not counting reputation damage, recovery time, upgrading security afterwards.
Exactly. The total economic impact is almost certainly much higher. It shows these aren't just minor annoyances. They have substantial financial consequences.
So, for anyone listening, whether you're deep into cybersecurity or just trying to understand the headlines,
Yeah.
I think the key thing here is seeing the real-world impact. This isn't abstract tech stuff. It hits hospitals, government services we rely on.
That's absolutely the core takeaway. These digital actions translate directly into physical world problems, disruptions to healthcare, major economic losses.
And the questions about who's really behind it, the potential state links, add that whole other layer of complexity, maybe even geopolitics.
Definitely. Even if you're not a tech guru, understanding that these digital battles have tangible consequences is frankly essential now. Our world is just too interconnected.
Okay, so let's quickly recap the main points from this deep dive. Anonymous Sudan, highly active in 2025.
Yep. Responsible for a huge number of disruptive attacks across many sectors.
Big impact on critical services, significant financial damage.
And ongoing legal action after those arrests in late 2024.
Right. Which leaves us with a final thought, I suppose.
Go on.
Well, something for you, the listener, to think about. What does it mean when groups like this, non-state actors, or maybe state-linked actors acting like non-state actors, can wield this kind of cyber power?
That's a big question. What does the future of security look like when the lines are so blurry? Think about that balance or maybe the tension between wanting anonymity online.
But needing accountability when real harm is done.
Exactly. Anonymity, accountability, and just how deeply interconnected and maybe vulnerable our digital world makes us. It's complex and it's not going away.